Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour at the beginning of this darn pandemic to help everybody stay together while we're not in the same place. And so we've just been gathering here every Wednesday, and it's been pretty neat. Daniel is taking a little time off, so I've got an assist today from Cliff Winnig and Tom Marcinko. Thank you both very much. And now that our tech issues seem to be resolved for the day, we can get going. Welcome back to those of you who are returning, and welcome to those of you joining us for the first time. As always, we have two wonderful writers reading for favorite nonprofits. Tonight's readers are Joe Miles and Sonia Focke, with an assist from Jonathan Guss. If you are fortunate enough to help others during this time, please consider a donation to tonight's featured nonprofits, the Humane Rescue Alliance and World Builders. Joe Miles is reading for Humane Rescue Alliance. With a people-focused, community-based approach, HRA treats every animal as an individual and emphasizes specialized care for both animals and their families. With 5 campuses in the District of Columbia and New Jersey and 19 animal control contracts, as well as direct care, rescue, and community-based services, HRA is the largest animal services provider in its region, touching the lives of over 100,000 animals annually. Its teams find solutions to both small and big problems, from providing direct care to an animal in crisis, to tackling systemic barriers to affordable pet-friendly housing. You can learn more at humanerescuealliance.org. Sonia Focke and Jonathan Guss are reading for World Builders. World Builders harnesses the enthusiasm and kindness of the geek community by raising money for established nonprofits such as Heifer International and Mercy Corps, as well as books, games, and more for various charitable causes. World Builders hosts events and fosters a community where people can gather and share their joy while raising funds in order to make the world a better place. You can learn more at worldbuilders.org. If you're here on Zoom, feel free to leave your camera on. It can be really nice for our readers to see people. And chime in on the text chat if you like, off on the right on Zoom. There is also some chat going on Facebook, but please bear with us if we're not monitoring that quite as closely. We'll get your questions through if we can. So our first reader tonight is Joe Miles. Joe Miles writes optimistic science fiction and fantasy. Their stories have appeared in Strange Horizons, Analog, Fireside, and more. And they've been nominated for a WSFA Small Press Award for their story, The Longest Season in the Garden of the Tea Fish in Strange Horizons. Joe lives in Maryland, and you can find them online at joemiles.com and on Twitter as Joe S. Miles. Like Joe Smiles. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to see so many folks here for my first appearance on Story Hour.
This is really a very good turnout. Clearly, you two both have fan bases. Well, you three, actually. Maybe that's part of the trick.
So the story, sorry, Laura?
Oh, I just wanted to say, what are you going to read for us?
I'm going to read a story called One World's Treasure, which came out last month in Allegory magazine. This is a fun story. It does, as a content warning, deal with MLMs, multi-level marketing companies. So fair warning if that is something that you have feelings about. I'm going to dive right in. Driving through the gates to Star Stuff headquarters, Darlene felt like she died and ascended to a higher plane. It looked exactly like the brochure pictures she'd hung all around her house. Well, not exactly. The brochure didn't show the landfill across the street or the used car dealership next door, but if you ignored the surroundings, it was perfect. The archway soared above her, a rainbow of crayon blue and yellow scattered with 5-pointed stars. The building itself, the mothership, was designed to look like an Entrithian star cruiser, and its fins gleamed in the sun. It was even more perfect than in her imagination. the shining embodiment of everything she'd worked so hard for. The parking lot was surprisingly empty for a Tuesday morning, but Darlene took the spot marked Sales Family VIP, like the invitation said to, then snapped some selfies with the mothership in the background and sent them to her network. Seeing her here would inspire her ladies back home, just like it had inspired her as a new recruit when her sponsor Tammy had reached Nebula level sales and got invited to this same VIP visit to meet the founder. She liked to remind her ladies that they could get where she was someday if they kept dreaming big. Their replies flooded back. They were so excited for her, they could hardly believe this was happening. Well, Darlene could believe it. Like they taught you at the training seminars, if you believed in the product and believed in yourself, you really could do anything. Last thing before going in, she texted a photo to her sister. Sandy wasn't the only one who made fun of Darlene since she signed up with Star Stuff. The ladies at church were always making backhanded compliments when she showed up with a new catalog, and she saw the neighbors talking behind their hands every time she unloaded a new shipment of product. But Sandy was the one who kept hassling her about it, trying to talk her into quitting. She called Star Stuff a pyramid scheme, no matter how many times Darlene explained that multi-level marketing was different and that a lot of people got rich off it. Sandy the mechanic didn't believe in anything she couldn't take apart with her own two hands, and she treated Darlene like an idiot for believing in something bigger than herself. Darlene mostly avoided her sister these days. The first thing Tammy had taught her was to remove doubt-creating influences from her life, but she couldn't resist sending proof that she'd finally been right, that she'd finally truly made it. Inside, there were a few Adrithians briskly moving boxes of product, but there was no one to greet her and no one at the reception desk either. She called out, "Hello, can anyone give me directions?" "Welcome to Star Stuff, a project of the Health and Environment Department of the Adrithian Empire," said a computerized voice. "Please state your request." Well, that was better. "I'm Darlene Rawson, here to see the founder, Gjornvir of Idrithar." "Founder Gjornvir is available only by appointment." "I've got an appointment." "Unable to confirm. Please state an alternative request." "But I've got an invitation." She waved the sheet of Ultraplast, its gold embossed lettering glinting in the overhead light. "See, I'm Nebula level now, and that means I get a meeting with the founder. This is the date and time I was invited for, so here I am, and I'm not leaving until I meet him." There was a pause, and the Star Stuff theme song played over the speakers. Darlene tapped her foot, not in time with the music. You'd think a Nebula level salesperson could get a little respect around here. "Invitation confirmed. Please follow the lighted floor tiles to the founder's office." Now that's more like it. Thank you. The interior of the mothership felt more like a church than an office building, the way the glowing walls curled around to embrace her. A hum vibrated through her from the building itself, energizing and relaxing all at once. She followed the bright line on the floor, and apart from when she had to stand aside for Adrithian employees rushing past with carts full of boxes, it was reverently quiet. Felt like journeying into the heart of something greater than herself. Down the hallway came a voice she'd recognize anywhere, a clear tenor with an Adrithian trill. Despite how she'd prepared for this moment, despite how she'd told herself she'd keep her cool, rounding the corner to his office brought her to a hard stop. She'd seen that face 1,000 times in training videos, with its pale blue skin and wise, dark eyes peering out from the deep facial skin folds, but it was different seeing him in person. It's really you. You're him, Founder Gjornvir." "Of course I am. Who are you?" He glanced past the hollow display on his desk and made eye contact with her. Eye contact with her. "Oh, you're just like in the trainings." Well, a bit brusquer than in the official videos, but that was to be expected. He wasn't performing for her, and that gave her a sort of thrill. This was the real Gjornvir, who no one else got to meet. "It's such an honor, sir. I've worked so hard to get here." "Oh, you're the seller, the newest, White Dwarf level?" "Nebula level." He put on the smile he always used at Star Stuff family conferences, crossed the room and shook her hand once. Good job. Well done. Congratulations, etc., etc. He went right back to his desk, leaving Darlene standing there awkwardly. There were sounds of bustle behind her, people running down the hallway. What's going on today? Everyone seems awfully busy. Yes, moving day always is. He didn't look up this time. Moving? That explained it, but moving where? She peeked into a box of jumbled products by the door. Is that a cortical energinator? What? It is, isn't it? She picked it up, holding it reverently. Never seen one up close before. I always hoped I'd get to the level where I could sell these. Just strap it on and your brainwaves realign, right? Makes you as productive as 3 cups of coffee without the buzz or the crash. He looked up at her now, his facial folds squishing together, the Atrithian version of raised brows. You memorized that from our catalog. Oh, yes, I've memorized the whole thing. Well, that is something. He shook his head slowly, wonderingly. Humans, this is why your world's been such a good market. Pity your planet's capacity to absorb useless things isn't so infinite. Huh? Take it if you want. He waved at the energinator. She gasped. Are you sure? I'm not at the right level. As if that matters. Take it. Take the whole box. The whole box? She dropped to her knees, rummaging through its contents. There's some incredible stuff in here. Jornvir laughed. It wasn't a friendly sound, and Darlene was beginning to wonder if his niceness at the conferences wasn't mostly an act. It was still an honor to be in his presence, though. Incredible? That junk? Mercy, no wonder your species has never left your solar system. It's not junk. This is some high-level product. Take it all if you want. From here, from the loading dock out back, anything we leave behind. Fill up your car with the stuff. Are you serious? He couldn't be serious. Was this a joke? Could founder Jornvir be mocking her? It is, as humans say, your lucky day. No, it was too much. She shouldn't question such a stroke of good fortune. She really shouldn't, but this was beyond luck, and it didn't feel like generosity either. That's the second time you've talked about leaving. What do you mean? Where are you going? He checked his holo display. Not long now. Time for you to run along. You don't want to be aboard when we close up shop. Close up. He made it sound like more than an office move. Then the more important word caught up with her. Aboard? I'll see you out, shall I? He deposited the box of product into her arms, and she grabbed it instinctively. His hand on her shoulder, steering her toward the door, should have felt like a blessing from a saint, but instead it felt condescending, like when her ex told people how hard she worked for Star Stuff, and it wasn't until months later that she realized he looked down on her for it. She was starting to rather dislike Jornvir, and that set her fuming. Not at him, but at the unfairness that he wasn't what she'd expected him to be. Tell me what's going on here, she said, her legs pumping to keep up as he hauled her down the long hallway. I'm Nebula level. I have a right to know. If you haven't figured it out yet, it's not worth the breath it would take to enlighten you. He sighed as if disappointed in her. Disappointed when she'd done everything possible to advance in the Star Stuff family. Every single thing that he himself had told her to do. I'll say this much for humans. When we visit most primitive planets, we're lucky if they buy anything at all from us. But you, humans not only bought, but you signed up to sell it for us. This pyramid scheme concept that your species is so fond of, it's brilliant. Perhaps your most brilliant invention. We'll be using it on other planets, I assure you. But he held open an outside door and ushered her through. Stand well back or you'll get caught in the engine fields, he said, and closed the door behind her. He'd left her standing in a maze of Star Stuff crates that made her own stock piled in her basement seem like nothing. Clutching her box to her chest, she stumbled away as the building began to roar and emanate a dry, billowing heat. Then the whole building, no, the whole ship, the mothership in more than name, lifted from the concrete. It rose weightily, like a city-sized cruise ship straining to pull away from a dock, then began to glide forward, gaining momentum and speed. The wind of it mussed up her hair, then faded as the ship took to the sky. Darlene couldn't tear her gaze away until it was just a pinprick of light and her eyes watered from straining after it. Then she looked around her. They'd left behind a whole warehouse's worth of Star Stuff products, stacked boxes, some leaking or dented, massive moldering crates for the larger products, Adrithian cars with wheels missing, even a spaceship, a scaled-down version of the mothership with rust behind its peeling paint. It should have been a treasure trove of riches, all free and hers for the taking, except that Jornvir's words echoed in her head, pulsing with the rhythm of the mothership's great engines. Junk, junk, it's all junk. He'd said it offhand, and she'd thought he was being rude, but looking at the abandoned lot that used to be Star Stuff headquarters, it was hard not to see it. They'd left what they didn't want, like when her neighbors moved out and left their ratty old couch and broken TV on the sidewalk with a free sign. They'd left behind their junk. It couldn't be, though. Star Stuff products were high-level Adrithian technology. Jornvir had always said it was too advanced for Earth scientists to understand, and that anyone who called their products a scam or blamed their results on the placebo effect was limited by a small mind. It couldn't be junk, because that would mean Sandy was right, that everything she'd sold and everything she'd done with her life was worthless. She grabbed the energinator, strapped it to her forehead, and waited for it to bring clarity to her thoughts like the catalog said. If Star Stuff was telling the truth, the energinator would help her make sense of why this was happening. She waited and waited and waited. And eventually she had to admit it wasn't working. It was junk. Her whole life was junk. Calm down, Darlene, Tammy said, squeezing Darlene's shoulders. Be reasonable. I'm sure this isn't what it looks like. It is, Tammy. They lied to us. It had taken hours for Darlene to work up the nerve to call her network, and a day beyond that for them to get to headquarters, well, former headquarters, here in middle of nowhere, Indiana. It was long enough for Darlene to take a good look around the wasteland of abandoned Star Stuff, at first instinctively taking inventory as if it really were a windfall she could profit from, then wandering the maze of crates until she went numb, long enough for her to try starting up the spaceship 3 times, getting no more than a mechanical wheezing, long enough for her to admit that she'd been lied to and that she'd lied to others in turn. It wasn't long enough to stop feeling as mortified as a cat in a bathtub, but by the time the others arrived, she knew what they had to do. She thought the hardest part would be explaining it to the network below her, the 6 ladies she'd recruited with the same lies that reeled her in. It was her fault their homes were full of Adrithian garbage, after all. But it was Tammy, her sponsor, the woman who recruited her, who had the hardest time of it. It's a practical joke. It has to be. Tammy scooped a handful of wow beads from a crate, letting them fall through her fingers. They were supposed to promote healthful energies if you surrounded yourself with them. Folks bought bathtubs full of wow beads and took naps in them. But now that Darlene really looked, they were obviously just gobs of colored plastic. Just like her sister said. It's all junk, said Carmen, the first seller Darlene had recruited. Basura, how did we never see it? What a scheme, said Norma, the oldest woman in their network, shaking her head. Bad enough they stuck us with their garbage. They made us pay for it. Worse than that, we sold it for them, said Darlene. It's twisted, but I've poked around since they left, and everything I've found says they were never a technology company. From the start, they were a garbage disposal company. We can still sell it, said Tammy, a desperate edge to her voice. She closed her fist around the beads. No one else knows. There's still a demand for Star Stuff, and now we've got the world's entire supply. We can make a killing. Really? Said Darlene. You'd really lie to your customers now that you know the truth? People have always sold each other snake oil and empty promises. I can sell people anything, but I can't pay the rent with a house full of unsold product. Tammy slammed her hands on a crate and wailed, What else can I do? Darlene knew how she felt. They'd both believed Jornvir could make them into shining stars, and the betrayal stank worse than any sort of garbage. We made a mistake, but it's not our fault. They worked darned hard to fool us, she said, resting a hand on Tammy's shoulder. But we fooled other people for them, and that's not right. We've got to make it right. How? Norma asked. Her eyes were red and puffy. They're gone. There's nothing we can do. She looked over at the rust bucket spaceship, baking in the Midwestern sun, and she smiled. We do like they taught us. They taught us to sell? Asked Carmen. Yeah, but most of all, they taught us to recruit people, to hold each other responsible, to push each other, to be ambitious together. She reached for Carmen's hand. The others came closer, adding their hands one by one. All but Tammy, who hugged her arms around herself. Darlene waved her closer, but Tammy shook her head. Well, that was a shame. With a deep breath, she focused on her downline, the women who depended on her. You ladies are the most important thing Star Stuff gave me. Let's show them what we can do. We're going to take out the garbage. How? Talk to your networks. Get back all the unsold product and bring it here. Tell your customers what we're planning too, and that you'll take away their junk for free. You can use my van and Carmen's van and any other trucks folks will lend us. Get as much junk as you can and meet back here. And while you're doing that, a pickup truck rumbled through the gates and pulled to a stop, taking up 3 spaces in the empty lot. She was here early. Darlene wasn't ready for this, but didn't have much choice. I got some crow to eat, ladies, and it's not going to be pretty, so wish me luck. No, it wasn't pretty. Sandy stepped down from the driver's seat with her toolbox and a truckload of I told you so. Say it again, Sandy demanded. That how you say hello these days? I'm serious. So was I with everything I told you on the phone. Admitting it over the phone had been humiliating enough. Sure, but say it again and look me in the eyes this time. When Darlene groped for words, Sandy said, do you want my help or not? Fine. Darlene sighed, but she'd keep saying it if she had to. She'd say it over and over until Sandy believed her. You were right, I was wrong. You're smart and I'm a dummy and I should have listened to you. You happy? Should I get on my knees? No. Sandy laughed and grabbed her in a bear hug. I'm giving you crap, but seriously, I'm glad you finally saw through their bullshit. I missed my sister. Darlene hugged her back good and tight and let out a long breath. I regret it for lots of reasons, but mostly I regret losing you. You've got me back if you want me. Now, what makes you think I know how to fix a spaceship? Have you ever met a car you couldn't fix? Darlene waved towards the abandoned ship. Every spot of rust and chipped paint showed up in the bright midday sun. How hard can it be? Sandy raised her eyebrows. You've got no idea. I'll take a look, but only because I've always wanted to take one of those things apart. No promises. They all went to work. Darlene's ladies knew their stuff, and within a few days, the former Star Stuff team filled the parking lot with a mountain of junk. Carmen estimated it was about a quarter of everything Star Stuff had dumped on Earth. Not a perfect fix, but more than enough to make an impression. Norma had organized an army of former sellers to weave together thousands of star bands, the perfect way to regulate your body temperature and reduce food cravings, except they were actually plain old rubber bands, into a massive net. Cosmic garbage bag, Norma called it, big enough to hold all the Star Stuff. But they still needed a way to move it. Sandy, Darlene called. Not to rush you, but the ladies can't wait around much longer. Whether this works or not, we've got to go find new jobs. We've all got bills to pay. Muffled curses came from the cockpit. Darn things should be working, best I can tell, but it's not. I'm going to try starting it up again. See if anything happens. Darlene waited. No, there was nothing except, I think I hear something, like a scraping noise from over here. Sandy hopped down and pressed her ear to the belly of the ship where Darlene pointed. Her eyes popped wide, then she frowned. Oh, don't even tell me it's... What? What is it? She popped open an access panel and stuck in a flashlight, followed by her head. Phew. Yeah, of course it would be. Ah! She leapt backward. A small furry mass vaulted off her shoulder and hit Darlene in the face with its tail, leaving her spitting out fur. The critter perched atop the access hatch, squeaking accusations at them. Darlene laughed. That was the problem? A squirrel? Whole family of them. Sandy was examining the compartment with her flashlight again. Chewed through a bunch of wires. I bet if I patch those up, the ship will fly. She raised her brows at Darlene. But I'm not touching it until someone deals with our visitors. Chasing squirrels was not exactly what Darlene had expected to be doing as a Nebula-level seller, but she managed it with the help of Norma's over-enthusiastic Pomeranian. As for the mess they'd left behind, the less said about that, the better, but she dealt with that too. It took a few more hours of Sandy banging around the inside of the ship and cursing, but at last she announced, "Okay, I think I got it. Say a prayer, ladies." This time, the little ship roared to life, then hovered off the ground. Darlene let out a whoop. Carmen cheered and started dancing with Norma. "It's a piece of junk, but it'll get us there," Sandy called down. "It's our piece of junk. It'll do fine," said Darlene. "So you're really going to do this?" Tammy stood behind them, cradling a box piled high with star stuff, a lost look on her face. "You're going to throw all this away?" Darlene went over to her. "It's already thrown away, Tammy. I wish you could let go of it." No, I can't. It's still good product." "It's not. You know it's not. You taught me to be strong and persistent, Tammy. You taught me to never give up, and I'm grateful for it. But are you really going to keep doing their work after they proved that they don't care about us?" She squeezed Tammy's shoulder, forcing her mentor to meet her eyes. "Come with us. Show them how you feel." With slow, reluctant steps, Tammy moved toward the mountain of junk. For a second, Darlene thought she was going to take more of it, but instead she threw her box high up onto the pile. "All right, I'll come." The ship was small, with only enough room for 4. They picked Darlene, Tammy, and Carmen for the crew, plus Sandy as their engineer. When everything was ready, with the junk in its net and tied to the ship's cargo clamps, they fired up the engines and lifted away, watching the Earth get big and then very small behind them, so much smaller than the trailing net of junk. It was something to see that little ball of blue, one last thing Jornvier had done for her, even if he never meant to. The little ship knew how to navigate to its home. A few days later, those same windows showed them a smoggy city of a world, all tall buildings and concrete factories. There were no forests to see, and the few spots of green stood small and alone, islands in an ocean of grime. It explained a few things about why the Adrithians needed Earth as a landfill, but it didn't make Darlene feel any pity for them. They pulled up the local version of the internet and found a directory. Darlene had been worried about this part, but for once they were in luck. There was only one Jornvier on Adrithrir, and now they knew where he lived. "Take us there," Darlene said, "and call him." Jornvier's face appeared on the ship's screen. "What is you? How are you here, human?" His facial folds fluttered. "Thanks for the ship," Darlene said. "It's real nice. You left some of your stuff behind, though." "The products you purchased from Star Stuff are legally yours now. Your planet's problem." "I don't agree. None of it works the way you promised, so we're here to return it." She waved to Carmen, who lowered the ship down until they hovered 100 feet in the air. No surprise that Jornvier was rich. His house was huge and shiny white, roofed by a glass dome. Even better, he lived in one of those rare green spots, so he had a yard, acres of pristine green turf with no trash in sight. "Return it? You can't return it." "A refund would be nice, but I know you won't do that, so we're happy just to send all this back where it belongs." "Well, good luck getting a permit for that. You can't just..." "Jornvier, look up." He glanced upwards, and his facial folds roiled. "No, absolutely not. Waste disposal on Adrithrir is restricted by..." "That's your problem, not ours," said Darlene. "Cut it loose, Sandy." There was a creaking noise, and the cargo clamps released. A humongous net of trash came apart as it fell, cascading down over the dome and spreading in a wave around the house, bits of brightly colored junk bouncing away across the grass. But, Jornvier's jaw worked as he turned around and around, looking out windows that now showed only piles of trash. "This isn't how it works. Where do you expect me to put it all?" I don't really care, as long as it's not on Earth. Enjoy your stuff, Jornveer. Darlene turned to her sister, who was grinning ear to ear, looking proud as anything. Looking proud of her, and that made Darlene feel prouder than the day she made her first sale, even prouder than when she earned her Nebula ranking. Sis set a course for home. They flew up and away, leaving Star Stuff and its garbage behind them. The end.
I love that. And I don't know if you were trying to be timely with it, but having this happen right when people are shopping for the holidays.
I had not thought about that.
Wow. You know, it really makes me think about stocking stuffers, which I never liked anyway, because, Santa doesn't shop at CVS, but, still. Yeah, I like the reminder about being more mindful as well as owning up to our mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And after every story, we find ourselves taking a deep breath because each story brings its own atmosphere. And it's just good to have one last breath of it and then get ready for the next one, which I think this time is going to be in a very different world. So our next reader is Sonia Focke. Sonia is an author and Egyptologist born in New York, but living in Germany. After a childhood spent mostly in her own head, she has since showered with a scorpion, defended a hill fort against Viking invaders, moved house in a Volkswagen Polo, and learned all of the Mikado by heart. She lives in Munich with a blacksmith and 2 Padawans. You can find her Beauty and the Beast retelling with turtles in Fractured Mirror's Mirror Mirror anthology, which comes out December 21st. Wow, that's before the next story hour. That's really soon. You can find Sonia on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and sometimes even TikTok. And she has also brought tonight her sort of co-author because of the music, I believe, Jonathan Guss. Jonathan Guss, who composed the music for the advertising jingles because he loves his daughter very much, is a New York-born voice actor and singer. He has herded chickens, backpacked across Europe, and worked as a singing waiter and a New York cab driver. He has sung for the New York City Opera and the Phantom of the Opera in Hamburg. He is also genetically responsible for any and all puns in the story you're about to hear. He lives in Yonkers with his partner. Now, the next story is called Crunchy with Ketchup, and Sonia has provided a discount code for the anthology. Crunchy with Ketchup is the name of the anthology. Sonia's story in it is the 5102 World Championship. And we have a discount code for that I will drop in the chat on both Facebook and Zoom. So welcome, Sonia and Jonathan, our first ever child and parent reading. This is super cool.
All right.
Okay.
Take it away, you two.
Welcome back, hens, cocks, and gentle dragons, to the biannual Torching World Championships. Up now for the singles open village is Razorback, 2-time silver medal winner and Swedish Nationals champion, for those of you just tuning in. He started out with 2 simple incendiary banks, taking out a large swath of the perimeter, followed by a swooping billow to torch the church. Carol, what do you think of this unusual tactic?
You know, Bob, he's had a lot of success with this tactic in the past. If done well, it's an excellent way to gain points as the villagers are now trapped inside.
Still, standard tactics are to flame the church first, causing people to flock together to put it out. Remember, folks, it's open villages this round. A river, 1 bridge, a church, 2,000 villagers, and no walls or other fortifications.
Oh, that's a wonderfully executed Catherine's wheel barrel roll, cutting a swath through the villagers, followed by a swooping billow. Very nice, but his wings could have been a bit more sharply angled on the backstroke. What do you think, Bob? Will that cost him points?
With the Danish judge, maybe. But I haven't seen anyone with better execution today except for Perry on his port fortifications round.
Now you see the strengths and weaknesses of his tactic. The villagers are all in one place, with only a few trying for the river. However, he might be a bit tight on time. By not torching the church first, there's no guarantee the roof will collapse in time for him to get to the treasure.
He might be counting on making up the points elsewhere, Carol.
He could pull it off, but it's quite a gamble. He'd need to beat Dream Scale and Pyrocratos on technique and get at least 95% on the villager count.
Oh, look at that dive!
He's going for the treasure! The roof beams on the church are still intact. Do you think he can make it?
I don't know, Carol, but it's magnificent to watch. He's broken through the beams like they're matchsticks. Time is running out, folks. Let's see if he... Yes! He's got the treasure!
Oh, but that wound on his wing looks nasty. The judges are going to take points off for that.
Yes, they're leading him to the mud baths now. Wow, gentle dragons, this was one hell of a performance.
It certainly was, Bob. The ground dragons are out there now, counting villagers, and we're waiting for the score from the judges.
That's right, Carol. While the judges deliberate, a word from our sponsors.
Anti-rot, anti-rot, when the scales start to itch and you claw and scratch and scritch, when they peel and fall away, anti-rot will make them stay. Anti-rot, anti-rot, when your coat loses its sheen and you cannot scrub it clean, when that other ointment fails, put anti-rot on those dull scales. Anti-rot!
Hello, folks, and welcome back to the biannual Torching World Championships. We're on the wing to the site of the next competition. The points are trickling in for Swedish contestant Razorback's Open Village Round. First up are the prerequisites: villager count, treasure, and the total destruction bonus.
Thank you, Bob. Here are the first results. Villager count, 9.3. Treasure, 9.2. Total destruction bonus, 0.
Only 93% on the villager count?
One moment, Bob. There's someone from the cleanup crew right here. Hello, gentle dragon. What's your name?
Crooktooth, ma'am.
Well now, Crooktooth, you were just down in the village doing the count. Care to give us the rundown on the villagers?
Sure, I guess. Two of them escaped through the river, see? And one from between the burning houses. But we also found several live ones in some undamaged houses.
Thank you, Crooktooth. Perhaps you can tell us what happens with the villagers now. I'm sure our listeners want to know.
Oh, none of it goes to waste, ma'am. You can be sure of that. There's this organization, see, for them hatchlings has got no home to speak of. They come and pick it all up.
That's right, Crooktooth. Thank you. There you have it, listeners. All the meat left over at the end of a round gets donated to Happy Hatchlings, dedicated to finding orphaned and disadvantaged hatchlings a new home.
Disadvantaged, Carol?
Bob, there are little ones listening. You do know what happens to weaker hatchlings in a large clutch.
Oh, right you are, Carol. Happy Hatchlings, folks. You can donate by calling our operators here at Sports Radio Europe. Any word from the judges?
Just coming in now, Bob. Remember, for this round, the judges were asking for 1 barrel roll, 1 dive, and some form of continuous flame. The points are coming in. Holy Roman Empire, 9.7. England, 9.6. Finland, 9.2. Sweden, 9.8. Denmark, 9.7. France, 9.7. Serbia, 9.8. Castile, 9.7. Sicily, 9.7. Total, including the village and treasure points, 9.4.
And there you have it, folks. This brings Razorback down to 3rd place, with Whiptail moving up to 2nd, and Diamond Scale still set to bring in the gold.
That's right, Bob, but there's still one competition to go. My favorite, freestyle.
This is singles freestyle for those of you just joining us now. Each competitor can choose their own fort with a few preset criteria from the judges. What are they this year, Carol?
Stone curtain wall and artillery for the fort, 1 snap roll, 1 reverse 8 or variation, and a sustained flame.
There you have it, folks, and we're just coming up on the first contestant's choice. With each fort completely different in both execution and defenses, freestyle is tough to judge.
That's right, Bob. Villagers are counted by percentile of the total, but there's a bonus for upwards of 500 and another if the armed contingent exceeds 50%. There's also a bonus for each added difficulty, location, curtain walls.
Absolutely. It's a hard decision. Go for an easier target, but forego the bonuses, or risk a heavily defended castle. The trick is to find a fort that plays to your strengths.
And it's certainly one of Whiptail's best disciplines.
Maybe so, but I don't think we should discount Rumblewing yet. Freestyle is his turf. He could grab a medal yet.
Now, this year's contestants were encouraged to find forts along the Rhine to shorten travel time. But if I were you, I'd make sure your eggs are covered and toasty and the hatchlings are asleep, because this could be a long night.
That's right. So grab yourself a bowl of crunchy pigs and settle down. But don't you worry, folks. We have captured a human Minnesänger and 2 jesters to keep you entertained through long flights between contestants.
You do think of everything, Bob.
But first, a word from our sponsors. When your fangs are yellow and brittle, never so dull have they looked, and time their sharpness has whittled, and you can only eat your meat cooked. Try Kettle Fang's kit for fang polishing and care, for that sharp white smile that sends enemies running. All right, folks, you heard it. Keep those teeth strong and white. Here for the Torching World Championships, we're coming up on our first fort in the singles freestyle. First up is Whiptail, one-time bronze medal winner, flying for Gwyneth, and currently in second place. He's chosen a nice little hillside fort overlooking the Rhine, hasn't he, Carol?
It's not much for size, Bob, but location is everything. I think we can expect a lot of bonuses here.
We're almost there, Carol, and it's a doozy. Just one curtain wall, but we're at the top of a hillside with a cliff leading straight down to the Rhine. There isn't any space for the soldiers to run.
That's right, Bob. He is somehow going to have to lure them all into a very small courtyard if he wants to nab his villager count. This is going to require a lot of precision flying and the judicious use of flame.
Very true, Carol. I wonder how the humans ever managed to get up there on those stubby little limbs.
Human locomotion is a mystery. But don't forget, they can be very clever with their hands. Whiptail will be starting from a position of... Whoa, Bob, what is going on?
This... Gentle dragons, if I weren't seeing it with my own eyes, I would not believe it. There's not 1, but 3 armies at the fort. What are the judges going to do?
For those of you at home, the army camped at the foot of the hill has brought 3 trebuchets. And on the Rhine, we have 4 ships with, yes, their sailors all have brand new, burly and strong in the arm crossbows.
Good eyesight, Carol. It's their newest model, too. The CB4W4 with 4-gear cranking and fast-action release. Those tear through wings like brittle leaves. The trebuchets are an older model, Festungssprecher KA-77s, I believe. Good load capacity, but slow pendulum action.
Bob, that's quite the detailed information on human weaponry.
I keep up to date, Carol. I'm sure our listeners want to know exactly what the contestants are up against.
Oh, I'm sure they want to know all about the CB4W4's fast action released and improved steel springs.
It's a hobby, all right? And for the folks at home interested in hearing more, tune in Fridays at Vespers on 142.3 FM for Bob's Artillery Hour.
Right. Good for you. So, listeners, let's not forget that artillery was a prerequisite for this freestyle round. So let's see if we can have a look at the fort. Bob, are those cannons?
I do believe so, Carol. 5 of them.
That's it. Certain they're not Kaiserliche Gusswerke Pfeilbüchsen with a 250-meter range? No?
Now, Carol, no need for... How did you know that?
As you can see, listeners, it's quite the party, and a bit much for one dragon to handle. The judges are still deliberating on whether to move on to the next contestant and let Whiptail choose another venue or forfeit... Oh, look, Bob, look, it's Whiptail.
So it is. Folks, this dragon has just decided he wasn't going to wait for the judges and swooped in on the fort. Amazing. That's a neat backstroke, and is he clinging to that wall?
Yes, Bob, he is. Someone just shot an arrow at him, but he's flaming right into one of the arrow slits. What is he doing?
I don't know, Carol, but he's just taken off again. Well-executed swoop dive, those wings tucked in nice and tight, and a lovely upsweep, and... Look! He's just incinerated the load of one of those trebuchets. That was an awkward twist. I don't know what the judges will... Oh! He's knocked it out of alignment. What is he...
Ha! He cut the rope, and it just torched one of the ships. Oh, good show! But Whiptail's under heavy fire. If he gets hit on a wing, he will be down and vulnerable.
He can't risk flying over the ships and their crossbows, and there's no way he can replicate that stunt with the trebuchet. Wait, is that the Sicilian judge?
Yes, Bob, it is. He's come to help Whiptail. Oh, that was an impressive double roll file funnel. A little wobbly in the yaw, but remember, they've never practiced it together. They've done for 2 of the trebuchets, but the archers have rallied around the 3rd. They're under fire from the cannons. Oh, those are still only raging shots. Oh, and here's Razorback coming into the fray. He's throwing firebombs at the archers while the French candidate, Jean-Marie, is headed towards the cannons. What was that?
Whoa! That was... Carol, did you see that? The whole fort just blew! Tumbled Jean-Marie head over tail in the backdraft.
Cannons! Bob, if they have cannons, they use black powder. It's highly flammable. My sister's hatchlings use it to practice their flame. Fireheart's potassium nitrate flame training cordial, for those of you back home, works wonders for late flamers. Whiptail must have found out where they were storing it during his scouting run. He must have been igniting it by pouring fire through that arrow slit.
You really think that could have done it? You won't believe this, hens and cocks and gentle dragons, but a whole wall of the fort has crumbled in on itself, and the rest is not looking too good either. There seems to be a few survivors, but they're just stumbling around in confusion. Well, will you look at that? The shockwave destroyed the masts on 2 of the ships and threw another entirely on its side.
Yes, Bob, and look, the humans are panicking. Some of the ship people are hurling themselves into the water. Oh, not all of them can swim. They do look a bit pitiful, just flailing around like that, don't they? And the fort people are bumbling about like new hatchlings with their wings still wet.
You've always had a soft heart, Carol.
I suppose. Oh, but here's Rumblewing from Hungary, and our last championship gold medal winner gone fishing. Those are some very impressive dives, perfect execution. Meanwhile, the Castilian judge has started picking through the rubble of the fort.
Joined by Nigel, the English contestant, settling in with a rather sloppy landing. Those were never his forte. And the Serbian judge. Dreamscale is coming in with a very neatly executed barrel roll and swooping landing. And here's the Castilian judge. Where did he learn to do such smooth glide landings?
He used to be a torture himself, Bob. Won 2 bronze and a silver for Castile in his youth.
Is that so? And Padraig from Ireland is picking off some soldiers trying to get down the hill. His hover is a bit sloppy, though. Cost him points in the fortified town round. Ah, I see someone brought a can opener. They look nicely done. Medium rare.
Meanwhile, in the plain, the judge from France has found himself a brave little square of pikemen, joined by countryman Jean-Marie. Oh, look, knights en brochette. The French certainly are innovative with their food.
And Razorback and the Sicilian judge seem to be exchanging addresses over a little archer roast. Is the Hungarian candidate digging a pit?
Indeed he is. Pit barbecue, excellent idea. Lightclaw from Aragon and Iris from Masovia have joined in the fishing. Oh, they're throwing fish in and torching the boats for a little surf and turf. You have to choose your fish carefully to balance the flavors, or the tar from the ships can become a little overwhelming.
Well, folks, it looks like this is going to be another undecided championship. When was the last one? Gwyneth 5085?
Novgorod 5092, Bob, if you remember. One of the contestants ate the other on the podium.
Ah, yes, the great mating disaster of 5092. I remember. So, hens and cocks and gentle dragons, tune in again in 2 years. This will be Almahad's first time hosting.
It will be interesting to see the differences in fortifications.
And of course, we'll be covering the Formation Flying Scandinavian Championships in Denmark in a couple of weeks. Carol, would you care to join me at the barbecue? Grab a couple of knights?
Oh, Bob, I'm not really one for pressure cooking.
I think I saw some Templars down there. You know you love that holier-than-thou aftertaste. Or maybe a pikeman brochette or two.
Oh, you do know how to talk to a girl.
You can dip, dip, dip that meat, all those arms and legs and feet. Easy pour, pour, pour for you, onto your roasts and steaks and stew.
What has the finest tangy note, a spicy taste to coat your throat? What's good with roast beef, frogs, and kraut? What should no kitchen be without?
Greenback's ketchup will pass the test.
Greenback's catsup is the best.
'Cause you can dip, dip, dip that meat, all those arms and legs and feet. Easy pour, pour, pour for you, onto your roasts and steaks and stew.
Greenback's catsup, in the patent easy pour keg, so you can savor every last drop. Everywhere spices are sold.
The end.
Oh, that was delightful. Thank you all so much. I've been laughing so much tonight. The stories were both so different, but both so much fun in their own way. Thank you so much. We are here every week, and every week it's different. But I know that next week is also going to be awesome because we have Kate Hartfield and Fran Wild reading. I do recommend checking storyhour2020.com the day of the reading in case of any changes, but hardly ever happens. A reason to check there really is to keep up to date on upcoming authors at storyhour2020.com. And you can also check the Story Hour page on Facebook, which is also linked from there, to catch any readings you've missed or watch this one a few more times. I mean, gosh, I'm going to. So Joe, Sonia, and Jonathan, thank you all so much. This has just been a delightful evening, and I have to say it is just what I needed for the season. And thank you to my absent but coming back next week co-host Daniel Marcus, to helpers Cliff Winnig and Tom Marcinko. And I'd like to thank all of you who stuck with us tonight with all the tech issues and starting late. I see that you all stuck around, and I am sure you feel rewarded for that. I know that it's been a heck of a story hour. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for staying with us, spinning the fictive dream together. Good night from Story Hour.
Good night. Hi, Ava. Hi, Jay.